So if you didn't watch part 1, I took a 10,000-mile solo road trip in an old Honda starting from Los Angeles. Went to Vegas for the first night, then spent a couple of days in a small town called Williams in northern Arizona. While I was in Williams, I drove to the Grand Canyon for some sightseeing, but on my way back, I was stopped by a police car. And now you're more or less up to date on the story. This video is once again proudly sponsored by Mr. Nobody. If you want to support this channel and to hear the upcoming stories, you can simply subscribe, comment, or like. All of this helps. So I pulled over the car at once and waited for the officer to show up. She walked to my window and told me that I was driving too fast. The speed limits were 45 miles per hour in the park, and I was driving at 55. After being fined for about $130, which could be my gas money for many days, she checked my plate and told me,
"Son, if you drive this fast in the park, you could hit a deer. And if you hit a deer, you'll be going back to California in the pine box."
It wasn't the most pleasant experience, but I took it as a healthy reminder. The next day, when I started my car, I noticed something strange. Since I had never read a car menu, I had no idea what that icon was, but after some googling, I reckoned it had something to do with the tire pressure. So I brought the car to an auto repair and had 2 mechanics help me. They did an inspection on all of the tires and found no punctures. The 2 gentlemen then told me not to worry too much about this, because Williams is 2 kilometers above the sea level, which means the temperature drops a lot during the night. The tires could be experiencing some thermal expansion and contraction. At the end, they inflated my tires, the icon disappeared, and I was over the moon. Then I drove back to the hostel, made myself some pasta, watched some strange TV commercials for a bit, and all of a sudden I heard really loud noise on the street. I went outside and found this incredible car and truck shop. The street was packed with people and vintage cars, and a lot of them were actually from more than half a century ago. I don't know too much about cars, but I found them very beautiful.
Really sweet 56 Chevy. Number 121, he's got a really beautiful thing done.
Looking at these happy people and gorgeous cars, I almost forgot we were having this pandemic thing going on. I admire their energy and their choices a lot. People here are not afraid of death, let alone COVID-19. The only thing they are afraid of is perhaps not being able to live a fuller life. So kudos to these brave and lovely Arizonians. So many people say life needs to be like a roller coaster ride with ups and downs, otherwise it's not exciting. And just like that, my trip was about to experience its darkest hour. The day after the car show, I drove to Flagstaff to hike the highest peak in Arizona, Humphreys Peak. The drive to Flagstaff went really well until I reached the foothills. Yup, you guessed it, the yellow icon showed up again. And this time, I could actually hear the hissing sound of air coming out of the left rear tire. I drove the car downhill as fast as I possibly could, found a gas station, inflated my tire real quick, and drove it to the nearest discount tire. After waiting in line for about 40 minutes, folks there found a big nail deep in my tire, and I ended up spending $100 for a new one. However, this was only a prelude to the real nightmare. So after the car was fixed, I drove back to the foothills of Humphreys Peak and started hiking. It was very, very rough. I was wearing wrong shoes, wrong pants, and was bringing too little water. The scenery was absolutely breathtaking with a lot of tall trees, huge rocks, and lovely squirrels. But my feet hurt like hell, and due to the elevation, I was always short of breath. In fact, the elevation was so ridiculous I could still find snow on the trail. In Arizona. Ascending the peak was very painful, but since I was a bit masochist myself, I was kinda enjoying it in the beginning, until the only 2 bottles of water I had were empty even before I reached the peak. Very quickly, I started to feel dehydrated and was lost in the forest for at least 10 minutes. Eventually, a family of 4 showed up. After hearing my plea, the youngest daughter didn't even hesitate and gave me a bottle of water right away. I didn't have a picture of her, but I just want to say thank you again and God bless you. Then, the biggest hit of the day came. While I was flying my drone, a sudden gust of wind literally moved the entire forest and my drone was unfortunately stuck on a tree. I tried everything I could to reach it, yet it just stayed there, not moving at all. It was a devastating experience. My heart was and still is aching so terribly. I bought a new drone the next day because I really wanted to record my journey and share it with you guys. But honestly, that pain of losing my first drone is still with me. The last place to check out while I was in Williams was Sedona. This place needs no introduction. The view was amazing. I saw birds, lizards, and found a bunch of dried riverbeds. It was a very hot day, but I was prepared. Now that I'd been to Grand Canyon, Humphreys Peak, Sedona, saw a car show, lost a drone, bought a new one, and had a super juicy steak, it was time to move on. Bye Williams, thank you for everything. I started driving north to see Horseshoe Bend. At that time, there was a huge fire happening in Utah, and while I was driving there, I could see and even smell the smog ahead of me. As a matter of fact, the smog was so huge, it even blocked the sun for hours. Naturally, I was a little worried about it because my motel was quite close to the fire, and I could even smell the smoke in my room. But as a risk taker and a fearless man, I decided to stay there. Horseshoe Bend was absolutely magnificent. The pictures I took didn't even do it justice. The cliffside lookout offered expansive views of this dramatic bend in the Colorado River from over 1,000 meters above. Seriously, nothing beats a view like that. Standing in front of something that extraordinary, I kept thinking about how small and unnecessary humans are to this planet. On my way back to Motel, I stopped at a place called Lone Rock Beach because I was curious what would a beach look like when there's apparently no ocean around it. And while I was driving closer to the beach, my car just started jerking terribly all of a sudden. And 30 seconds later, it just stopped moving completely. I got out of the car and found that both of my front tires were stuck in the sand and I didn't know what to do. Well, this is probably a good cliffhanger to stop this part of the story at. Thank you very much for watching. The next episode will cover stories in New Mexico and Texas. If you want to help out this channel, you can subscribe, comment, or like. The next section of the story will be out as soon as possible. Also, if you wish to get in touch with me, there's always my Instagram at Jingwu Show. Thank you very much.